Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On-Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on-demand care for common ailments, such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org.
From the studios of Boise State Public Radio News, I'm Samantha Wright, filling in for Jim Agadat. It's Idaho Matters. What's it like to hang in the vastness of space and stare down at the Earth? Astronaut Steve Swanson knows. He spent more than 25 hours on spacewalks during his time at the International Space Station. He rode the space shuttle, the Russian Soyuz rocket. He grew vegetables in space, and he worked on NASA's shuttle training aircraft. Now he spends his time at Boise State teaching and giving advice to future astronauts. He's the speaker this Friday as part of Boise State's First Friday Astronomy, where the physics department invites everyone to come talk about space and to look at the stars. Along with the conversation, Boise State Astronomy will be planting a new generation moon tree grown from a seed that circled the Earth. Steve's here for a preview. Steve, so tell me about your time in space. You were in space for quite a while. How did you get to be an astronaut?
Oh, that's a long story. Yes. I didn't think about trying to be an astronaut until I was about 25. And I just finished a master's in computer science and was really trying to figure out what to do in life. And that idea came in my head. So I said, why not try it? And so I went down that path, got a job at NASA, working aircraft operations. So I got some aviation experience, flying experience, operational experience, went off and got a PhD also during that time frame. And then just got lucky and got accepted into the program. It took 12 years from that time I decided I wanted to be one until I became an astronaut. The people who you're competing against have great resumes and lots of wonderful things they've done. So it's a little difficult process to get in, but I liked out with that.
Wow, that's amazing. Because I think I read you were a software engineer before you got started in NASA.
That's right. And I still did software at the beginning with NASA and aircraft ops. I worked on a airborne simulator of the shuttle, a modified airplane that could simulate the shuttle, which was a great, I didn't even realize that existed, and ended up being a fantastic job for me.
I was going to ask you about the shuttle training aircraft, because I don't think a lot of people know what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't. It's very unique. So the idea, it's a modified Gulfstream G2. So it's like a business jet size, but highly modified. The idea is it can simulate the shuttle from 35,000 feet to main gear touchdown. And we do that by first modifying the vehicle itself to be able to fly with the gear down and engines in reverse thrust through the simulation. And then there's a computer system that controls the whole aircraft during the simulation. So you have a model of the shuttle in the software that says this is what the shuttle should do. And then we have control algorithms that make the airplane do what that model is doing. Yeah, so it's really, it was a fun, fantastic, experience to be on that job.
Wow. And then you went into space a lot. How many shuttle missions did you do?
I did 3 missions, 2 on the space shuttle. Those were about 2 weeks long, and then it was to build the International Space Station. So each time I went, we took a piece of the space station up. Both times it was solar arrays for me. And we, would dock to the space station, use the robotic arms to move it into the location where it's going to be on the space station, and go out and do spacewalks to actually attach it all up and get it all working. And then the last one was a 6-month trip launching from Kazakhstan on a Soyuz rocket, and living there and working on the space station for 6 months.
Well, I had that down. You're one of the few people that actually launched aboard one of those Russian rockets. What was that like?
Yeah, it was definitely different for sure. It was also, pros and cons to everything in life, right? But one of the really interesting things to me was it was very traditional as how the Russians do it. It was the same launch pad that Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space, launched from.
Wow.
So he started lots of traditions. You went through that whole process, and it was just kind of there's a lot of history there, and to be part of that history and to see it all from that viewpoint, I found was very, very interesting, and I really appreciate that opportunity to do that. But then also having to learn Russian and going up in a Russian vehicle is much more difficult, etc. So there's a little con to that too.
You had to learn Russian. Okay, that's
Yes, I
something you don't
did.
think of when you have to be you're going to be an astronaut. You better learn Russian.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, you mentioned going out to put part of the space station together. I think I read you did 4 spacewalks, 26 hours hanging in
Yeah, there's going to be
space.
5 spacewalks by the end of it, but it's
Five,
but,
really?
yep, yeah, yeah. So it was a fun thing to do. Yeah, spacewalks are really, they're I have a myriad of emotions just because it's like a wonderful thing to do. You're out in your own little spaceship. You get this great view of the space station, Earth, etc. It's just like this coolest little thing. At the same time, it's really stressful because you have to get this job done that's very difficult. You're working in a suit that's very difficult to work in. So I don't know. It's all sorts of different emotions going at the same time.
Wow. I mean, you see it on TV, you see it in movies, you see it if you're watching the NASA channel, but I just can't imagine hanging in space outside of the space station, so it's just you in the spacesuit and the rest of the universe.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, so I mean, it's really interesting. And it's one ways it's fantastic, in other ways it's kind of scary too.
Wow. And you also talked about you spent quite a bit of time on some of those missions doing experiments. I think I saw you talking about the veggie experiment, and I wanted to ask you about this because I wanted to know, did you really grow vegetables in space and eat them?
Yes. So we were the Veggie One, so it was the first experiment to grow edible food on the space station, and it was romaine lettuce.
Oh,
And so it was the interesting part was really like, how to get the soil slash nutrients into the plants themselves and water them and all that to do this in the most, I guess, optimum way of doing that. And so it worked out, but it didn't work out great. I got to grow the plants, but it took a lot more care and maintenance on the plants than was originally designed.
mm,
But it still was fun to do. And then at the end of it, though, they did not want us to actually eat the romaine lettuce because they want to check it out for any kind of interesting microbes that might be on them. They didn't know what to expect.
wow.
However, it did look pretty good. We got done with it, and we just had to try it. And it was actually pretty tasty. And
Okay, so I specifically asked about this because, I'm thinking about growing vegetables in space. Is it safe to eat them? Which leads me to the moon tree, because you're going to be planting a moon tree during First Friday Astronomy. And I wanted to talk about it first. What is the moon tree? What is it? Where does it come from?
uh, so on Artemis 1, which is right now the next missions to the moon are called Artemis missions. The first one was an uncrewed mission that went around the moon. And on that, though, vehicle was a bunch of seeds, like I think from 5 different tree species. So then the program now is that they've been sending out these seeds to different universities, organizations, libraries, et cetera, schools to then plant a seed that has been around the moon and kind of put a little plaque on that to know that that's where it's been. So they're called moon trees. And so we're doing that on September 5th.
And I love this idea, but having seen a lot of sci-fi movies, first thing came to mind was Day of the Triffids. Was like, do we want to plant a moon tree? Is it gonna, burst open with
Oh,
some
we
kind of
did that
moon
back
virus?
actually. Yeah, this is the second time. There was a time back with the Apollo days when they did that also, and nothing happened bad out of that.
Oh,
So I'm
good.
assuming this is going to work out just fine.
Well, and if you ate the lettuce and you were okay, I think the moon tree will be fine.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh my gosh, what else did you do in space?
Oh man, I well maintain the space station. Besides science, that was our other big task, and that's just keeping like a big ship running, just like you would imagine any kind of thing like that has lots of moving parts, lots of pieces of equipment that can fail, need routine maintenance. So that was another big task. We had to work out about 2 hours every day just to minimize our bone loss and muscle loss. And then it was just looking out the window and having fun in this zero G environment.
Nice. That is awesome. Wow. I also found out you talked to your dad while you were in space.
Well, I talked to a lot of family and friends while I was in space. So we have the opportunity to make phone calls
Oh,
from
really?
the space station. We can't receive them, which isn't a bad thing. And so we would, I'd call people like every evening. I'd go have a list of people I was going to call that evening and do that. And I definitely would get probably call my family probably 3, 4 times a week. And then on the weekends, we'd actually do a video Skype call with my family.
Wow. That is awesome. You know,
Yeah, it was great. They really try to keep you, kind of connected because it is a long time to be away from home. And I'm busy up there working, so it's maybe not so difficult for me. I think it's more difficult possibly for the family, just because you're not there to help out at all. All your tasks or whatever had to be taken up by some other people in the family, and all that kind of stuff going on. And I think it's more difficult for them. So try to help out as best I could in that aspect was nice.
well, you did spend a lot of time up there. I think it's over 195 days. W- how did being up in space change you? There are a lot of ways, I could ask that question.
Yes. Well, the first we'll go with the physical side, and I think there's two aspects of that. One is your balance. When you first get to space, your brain is confused by your inner ear, which is looking for gravity. It kind of helps with balance, and since it doesn't have you can't really find it. It confuses your brain and kind of causes you to get nauseous. And so your brain will turn that off so that goes away about after a day or so. And so that kind of is nice while you're up there. But when you come back, you need to have that again working. And it takes about 10 days for that to reincorporate all the way in. So when you first land after 6 months, I was pretty wobbly walking. And, it was like a 4 margarita day. You definitely knew you were having a good time. And what I realized though too is that I could walk pretty well with my eyes open because I was using that for my balance or how I was upright and all that kind of stuff. But once I closed my eyes, I couldn't even walk at all that first day.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting to me that it was not incorporating that sensor at all at the beginning. And so that was an interesting process to get that back in. And then even though we work out 2 hours every day, you don't get everything worked out. Like your core does not. We don't have a way to work that out just yet. And other things like that were really, really weak coming back. So you have some parts of your body that are still pretty strong. They've lost maybe just a little bit, but other parts have lost a lot. And so it took about 6 months of rehab to get your body all back to
Wow.
100% after that.
That's crazy. Yeah, you don't even think about that, but wow. Um, what about the rest of you? How did space
Well,
change your mind and your outlook?
oh yeah. Well, I don't think it really changed mine too much. Um, Being an outdoors person, I really like, the environment. I think we need to protect it, et cetera. And so I'm definitely that a mindset. And just looking back on our planet from that view just reinforces that opinion because it's such a beautiful planet, but it's also a very fragile planet. And you can definitely see that it is one planet. We all are just, on this one planet, and what you do in one area affects other areas. You can just see it from that viewpoint, and we're not just, broken up by these lines of different countries and aspects. So I thought that was to me a really just a good reinforcement of my viewpoints already. And I wish more people could really see our planet from that viewpoint. So hopefully they would get a different picture or maybe reinforce their ideas on this too. And I think we could do a better job of taking care of our planet and each other.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. How did you get to BSU? I'm curious.
That was pretty much Barbara Morgan. Uh, she was a good friend. And or what should I say, on my last mission to the International Space Station, she had contacted me. She was working at Boise State at the time. And she asked me to fly some Boise State paraphernalia, um, like hats, etc., t-shirt, stuff like that. And I did a talk to Boise State students and some other students around the Boise area while I was up there. Did other just stuff like that she wanted me to do for her. To me, it was like no problem at all. She's such a wonderful person. Like, oh sure, Barb, I'll do whatever you want. And then And then when I got back, she had me come out here and give a talk. Also, she also knew my parents were in the area, so she was incorporating them into the whole program. And then after all that went through, she was getting ready to retire, and she knew I was thinking of leaving NASA. So she reached out and said, "Hey, why don't you come take my job and see if it all works out?" And so she really set it all up. She was so much smarter than I was in this aspect. But I appreciate what you did for me. It was fantastic.
Wow. Okay. First Friday Astronomy at Boise State. What are you going to be talking about?
Oh, and more just what we've been talking about now, just space, what it's like to go to space, what it's like to live and work in space, the pros, the cons, where we're heading, all that kind of aspect.
And you're going to be planting that moon tree. That is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to that.
And as an astronaut, you meet a lot of kids. What advice do you give to kids who are thinking about maybe being an astronaut or going into space or stuff like that? What's your advice?
Oh man. Well, first, I think space exploration is a great field to get into. I loved it. Of course, I'm biased with this, but I really enjoyed it. And one of the reasons I really enjoy it, though, because everybody, or almost everybody, I should say, I met and worked with in this industry really, really enjoyed their job. They enjoyed to be there. They were passionate about the mission. It was just really it was a wonderful place to work because everybody wanted to be there and they wanted to really do the job well. And just that kind of environment was just so much fun to work in. So I think it was a great place to work, but not just, and then doing the missions themselves and being an engineer and stuff like that to me was also fantastic. It was great stuff to work on, very unique stuff, very interesting. So I really, really enjoyed that career path. And of course, that's me. But to me, I also try to tell students, and I really, it can be all sorts of different things. It could be an astronaut, it could be working in space field, it could be working, whatever kind of gives them the feeling of accomplishment and passion, what they have passion for. But to me, it's hard to find that sometimes. And so if you can do as much as you can to find out what is that field that for you that gives you that passion, and you can find that, then to me, you've kind of won in life. If you that is your job and you really enjoy what you're doing as a job, and to me, that's kind of winning the game of life.
Wow. That is awesome advice, Steve. I want to thank you so much and have fun at First Friday.
Oh, looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
We've been speaking with astronaut and Boise State Distinguished Educator in Residence, Steve Swanson. He's the featured speaker at this week's First Friday Astronomy event at Boise State, which starts at 7:30 at the Education Building on campus. And after his talk, Boise State Astronomy will plant a moon tree and then open up the big telescope for some stargazing.
And that'll do it for this episode of Idaho Matters. Thanks so much for listening. And just a reminder, you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts.